Earth is home to an incredible biodiversity. Estimates vary, but it's thought our planet is host to anywhere between 8 million to 1 trillion species. Of course, there is a huge disparity between these figures, and this is in no small way due to differing opinions on what the definition of species encompasses, and the method under which the estimated number within this definition has been obtained. For instance, some creatures live in such remote habitats, it's incredibly difficult to speculate how many may reside there. The upper estimate would mean that remarkably, there are more species on Earth than there are thought to be stars in the Milky Way, and we still haven't discovered them all. While some of nature's creations have the briefest of life cycles, the Mayfly, for instance, lives a mere 24 hours, long enough to hopefully procreate before dying. Other animals are blessed with a lifespan that endures multiple centuries. And here, we're going to be exploring 5 species that enjoy particular longevity. Let's start with the Laysan Albatross. Originally thought to live 30 to 40 years in the wild, one example of this species is, at nearly 70 years of age, both the world's oldest wild and banded bird. Though they are named after a northwestern Hawaiian island, a location used by large numbers of the species as a breeding colony, the Laysan Albatross has a wide array of breeding territories spanning the North Pacific region. This gull-like bird, which grows up to 81 centimeters or 32 inches in length, with a wingspan of approximately 195 to 203 centimeters or 77 to 80 inches, is rather small for its species and has a distinctive dark contour around its eyes. Like swans and penguins, albatross are a monogamous bird, and their courtship displays are both lengthy and fascinating. Though they bond early in life, Laysan do not breed until they are at least 7 years old, spending their first year at sea. Many of the species hatch a single egg annually, and this too is a drawn-out affair, the incubation period being 65 days, and the young fledge around 160 days later. A female Laysan albatross named Wisdom, who is thought to have hatched in approximately 1951, holds the aforementioned record as the world's oldest wild and banded bird. She was first banded in 1956 by the renowned American ornithologist Chandler Robbins at Midway Atoll. When Robbins returned to Midway in 2002, he spotted Wisdom again, 46 years after his first encounter with her. In her extraordinary life, Wisdom has flown an estimated 3 million miles and reared at least 36 chicks, the latest of which fledged in 2019. Like so many species, the Laysan albatross population has suffered over the years. They were hunted extensively during the 19th century for their use of their feathers in hats, and numbers also declined during the Second World War due to the military activity that took place in the Pacific. Further threats come from pollution and the practice of long-line fishing. However, there is reason for hope. Conservation efforts and the protection of the northwestern Hawaiian Islands have helped numbers of breeding pairs recover and lift their status from vulnerable to near threatened. With continued efforts to raise awareness, the banning of certain fishing practices, and reducing pollution, it's thought the Laysan albatross may happily thrive once more. Tuatara. Tuataras, a lizard-like reptile, are the only surviving example of their older Rhynchocephalia, which emerged some 250 million years ago during the Triassic period, leading them to sometimes be referred to as a living fossil. Tuataras are only found in New Zealand and populated the islands prior to the arrival of the Maoris, who landed in waves from Polynesia between 1320 and 1350. Indeed, the word Tuatara derives from Maori and translates as peaks on the back. Tuataras are the largest reptile native to New Zealand. Upon reaching maturity, they can weigh up to 1.5 kilograms and reach lengths of half a meter. They are of great interest to scientists due to their evolution from their most recent nearest living relatives, squamates, that is, lizards and snakes. However, that is not the only unique aspect to these intriguing creatures. Tuataras possess two sets of teeth in their upper jaw, one of which overlaps the set in the lower, an arrangement that doesn't appear in any other reptile. They also have a parietal or third eye, located on top of their heads. Though these eyes have a basic lens, they cannot see, and are only discernible in young tuataras. After a few months they become covered in skin and scales. It's uncertain why exactly this eye exists, but it's thought that it may assist the animal in producing vitamin D, as well as possibly allowing the mostly nocturnal tuatara to discern between light and dark. Tuataras can live well in excess of 60 years and remain able to breed until late in life. In fact, in 2010, a 111-year-old tuatara named Henry, who resides at Southland Museum on the South Island, fathered young with a 70-plus-year-old female named Mildred. Tuataras have been protected by law since 1895, and the animals are held in special regard within Maori culture and are interwoven with numerous indigenous legends. They have a spiritual association with Wairo Te Tipua, the personification of evil and darkness in Maori myth, though they are now considered as a taonga, meaning special treasure. Aldabra giant tortoise. Natives of the beautiful coral atoll of Aldabra, located within the Seychelles, the Aldabra tortoise is unsurprisingly giving its name, one of the largest tortoises in the world. The Aldabra is the last of what was once at least 18 tortoise species living in the Indian Ocean region to survive, the others having been hunted to extinction, predominantly by humans in the 18th and 19th centuries. The once reduced population of these giant tortoises have enjoyed a prolonged chance to recover their numbers. James Spurs, who had concession for the atoll in the late 19th century, banned killing them in 1891. The atoll, a protected World Heritage Site since 1982, is now home to over 150,000 giant tortoises. These endearing and lumbering creatures can weigh up to 250 kilograms, or 550 pounds, with a shell measuring up to 122 centimeters or 48 inches, though one male, Aldabra, has been logged as weighing 304 kilograms or 670 pounds, the heaviest to have ever been recorded. The tortoises keep growing over the course of their lives, and whilst predominantly herbivores, they may also dine on meat if available, which surprisingly extends to consuming the carcasses of other tortoises. In order to survive the searing temperatures reached in this region, the giant Aldabra tend to spend a lot of their time in swampy grassland or pools to avoid overheating, and ultimately cooking in their own shells. Tortoises are already renowned as one of the longest living members of the reptile family, and the Aldabra's giants are certainly no exception. Many live beyond 100 years. It's thought that Esmeralda, a male Aldabra, despite his name, is the second oldest tortoise alive. He is 176 years old, beaten only by Jonathan, a Seychelles giant tortoise, a subspecies of the Aldabra, who is now 188. Though the Aldabra are protected both by law and by the remote location they inhabit, they are still listed as a vulnerable species, in no small part to waste pollution. Only this year, volunteers from Queen's College, Oxford, teamed up with the Seychelles Island Foundation to clear 25 metric tons of plastic litter from the atoll. This debris both enters the food chain and thwarts the young tortoises' attempts to leave the nest and reach the sea. Some 500 metric tons remain, however, threatening the safety and lives of these astonishing and incredible animals. Greenland Shark. Though less farmed than any other of its class, this apex predator, which roams the Arctic and North Atlantic, can grow to lengths of 6.4 meters or 21 feet, weigh 1,000 kilograms or 2,200 pounds, and are the longest living vertebrate on the planet. The Greenland shark moves extremely slow, averaging around 0.8 miles per hour or 1.1 kilometers per hour, earning them the slowest swim speed and tail beat for its size across all the fish species. Subsequently, as much of their prey can outswim them, the shark's diet consists of animals that are either asleep or dead. However, this has not led to an unvaried diet for this species. They are known to eat other, smaller sharks, eels, cod, squid, and skates. The Greenland has even been known to consume polar bears and seals, with one discovered with a whole reindeer in its stomach. They are scavengers through and through, attracted to the scent of carrion, and therefore will eat any animal that may fall through the ice or end up in the sea via hunting by humans, or any other creature for that matter. In 2013, 2 fishermen in Newfoundland aided a green shark that had washed up on the beach, struggling to eat a large chunk of a moose. The 2 men pulled the meal from the choking shark's jaws and set about pushing and pulling the shark back into the deep water, where after a brief rest, he eventually disappeared back into the depths of the North Atlantic Ocean. Given the scarcity of sighting these elusive creatures, this encounter is all the more astonishing. Though capable of eating a human, there is no evidence that any such incident has occurred, most likely due to the cold temperature of the waters these sharks inhabit. They have been recorded at 1,000 meters, or 3,280 feet down in the Gulf of Maine, and are suspected to reach depths of over 2,500 meters, or 8,500 foot. Dwelling at these depths also means it's very difficult to ascertain much about the Greenland shark's habitats and biology, including the female's gestation period, which has been guessed at being anywhere up to 18 years. Though this sounds incredible and has in no way been verified, given that their lifespan has been deduced to be up to 500 years, and the fact that the Greenland shark does not reach sexual maternity until they are approximately 150 years old, a pregnancy that lasts multiple years is very likely. Other sharks in the same order, that is squaliform, also have long gestation periods. One such is the gulper shark, whose pups are born after a 2-year-long pregnancy. Previously hunted for the oil produced by its liver, which was used as industrially and as a fuel for lighting lamps, and for their flesh being a culinary delicacy in some Nordic countries, despite the fact it's a highly toxic meat. Greenland sharks are still classified as near threatened, mostly due to the fact they end up as a bycatch from fishing lines. It's not known how many of this long-living species populate the cold depths, but scientists from Canada, Finland and Denmark in particular have pressed the urgency for conservation of this amazing shark. Ocean quahog. More commonly referred to as clams, one example of this unremarkable looking mollusk has left quite a remarkable legacy, because as you can imagine, it holds the title for the oldest verified solitary mammal on record, and earns its place firmly as the #1 spot in this video. Ocean quahogs are found in the North Atlantic, living in depths up to 100 meters, where they filter food such as microscopic plankton. Whilst the quahog buries itself in the sand, they feed via a siphon that protrudes from their shell, through which they also breathe. As the siphon is quite frequently the only part of the animal that is visible, it can become a snack for any observant and hungry passing cod. While many may regard clams as just an option on a seafood restaurant menu due to their astonishingly long lifespan, these creatures' shells provide scientists with information regarding sea temperatures and salt levels from centuries past. The presence or lack of them, and quantities of minerals such as zinc, calcium and magnesium, can also help identify levels of marine pollution. In 2006, an ocean quahog was dredged from the sea off of the coast of Iceland by researchers keen to learn more about the lifespan of the species. In order to ascertain the age of the mollusk, the rings of the creature's shells must be counted, much like counting the rings inside a tree. So densely packed were this specimen's rings that researchers at Bangor University in North Wales removed the shell of the creature to continue counting on the hinge of the bivalve shell, which unfortunately killed it. Originally, the animal was thought to be some 405 years old, but revised counting, along with carbon-14 dating, actually revealed the quahog to be 507 years old. The Sunday Times bestowed the mollusk with the name Ming, in reference to the dynasty ruling China at the time of the animal's birth, the year 1499. Ming, therefore, is the oldest individual animal whose lifespan can be accurately determined. But remember, there could be more out there that are much older that we have just not found and studied. Ocean quahogs are an example of an animal that is blessed with negligible senescence, that is, little signs of visible aging, diminished capacity for reproduction with age, reduced mobility, and even death due to aging. That of course doesn't mean this species never die at all, but it's more likely to do so during injury or hunting. Another ocean quahog, again collected off the Icelandic coast, was discovered to be 374 years old, and yielded data that suggested these slow-growing animals can maintain stable antioxidant levels for 150 years, therefore delaying aging. Who then knows what age Ming may have reached? And by studying animals with the capacity to delay aging, what implications findings may have for the future of humanity. So, that's 5 of the longest living creatures on the planet. We hope you've enjoyed this video, and any insights into some of the diverse and amazing fauna with which we share the planet. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.